And ladies and gentlemen, just when you thought it was safe after we wiped the slate clean and we're ready for the new season, and
Fill us off with that enthusiasm, bro. I mean, come on. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Benfica Podcast. We are very excited to be here to share our wisdom or our little 2 cents about what's going on in the Benfica world. Very excited. Even though things aren't going terrific at the moment with our club, we have to believe things will get back into, their correct order. But nonetheless, we're here. Our brother Dave is in Canada. We're here in the States, in someone's basement, trying to do our very best to bring you guys some type of entertainment regarding our Glorioso SLB. I'm excited as ever. Not really. But, nonetheless, we got to still come on here and speak about Benfica. Hopefully, some of our future podcasts will be a lot better than with a lot more enthusiasm. You see, Capitan will bring the fire over the next couple of episodes. But, yeah, Alfredo, welcome for season
Thank you.
300 of the Benfica Podcast.
Yeah, we're actually, thank you, everyone. And here we are for the first episode of this 21-22 season. And in 2022, in February, we will complete our 10th year anniversary of the podcast. But here we are, right? So tumultuous times at in Benfica land, obviously, as you know, if you haven't been under a rock. But here we are. It's been a very tough time for me this past week with everything that's going on. And like I said, I thought that we were going to have a clean slate, start the new season on the right foot. And lo and behold, a bomb just explodes in this whole thing. So anyway, but here we are. We're going to try to cover as much as possible on tonight's podcast. We will, and we're doing this live. We decided this last minute to do this live. So we're going to talk about the off season, obviously, camp, which started at the beginning of July, and obviously the elephant in the room, not Bruno that's sitting over there,
not Bruno, our technical director,
the Luis
number one. I mean,
the Luis Felipe Vieira shenanigans or whatever you call it, and we've had a lot of people reach out to us and ask us what's going on. Can you guys break this down for us? So I'm going to try to break it down as best as I can. From what I understand, sometimes the judicial system in Portugal isn't the clearest, and some of those words really probably don't even belong in my vocabulary. So I try to interpret them as well as I can and break it all down and explain it to you guys. Simply, he's being accused of stealing from the club, but we'll get into details. But anyway, Cristiano's here. Dave, what's happening, my brother? I haven't seen you in a while. How's everything up in Canada land?
Everything's doing well. Things are starting to open up again. It's been about 2 months since we've last spoken. I think we could go another. Not that I love speaking to the both of you, but the way that this season is starting off, thank God we've got the power of Cristiano's positivity again this season, because looks like we're going to need it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to last.
Cristiano's positivity?
The positivity is going to last possibly, depending on the results after the Champions League play-in qualification games. And then we'll see how positive I am after that. But nonetheless, bro, look, I'm excited once again to be back here on the Benfica podcast, kicking off another year. Hopefully we'll, have a lot more positive things to talk about this year than we did last year. But Dave, I love you. I miss you. Alfredo, my partner in crime, as you know, and the rest of you Benfiquista knuckleheads out there, thank you very much for supporting us and tuning in. And we're going to try to do something a little bit different this year.
Yeah.
Figured I'd bring my pretty face to the screen near you somewhere. And we're going to try to do, as many lives as possible. We got our engineer extraordinaire, Burro Barros, with us. Bruno Barros. I'm sorry. It's just old habit. Excited to have him back in studio with us. He's going to be around a little bit more this season. So, very excited. Now, things at Benfica aren't exciting.
Not as exciting. And just before we get going, Bruno is actually monitoring our chat. So if you want to post some questions
don't
on there.
Don't ask him anything about Benfica.
We have extra help, so he could tell us what's going on. But anyway, let's start at the beginning.
I was going to say there's, amongst all this terrible news, there is some positive news. So, I mean, I know you want to get into explaining what's going on, but we have some positive news to report today. We signed big superstar today,
Yeah.
Portuguese national team player. Got him on a free. You know, it's always good when you get players on a free.
No, absolutely.
Piss off our neighbors.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's start with the off season, right? So I think we were all relieved that the season was ending, and we were going to get a fresh start with no COVID. Players got vaccinated, so on and so forth. So we just, I was really hoping, good start, no more excuses. JJ has finally had time, and maybe he's gotten to know the team, because according to Domingos Soares Oliveira, the team didn't know him as well as they should, and he didn't know the team as well as he should. So maybe now that they got some time to acclimate themselves with each other, I was really hoping for a nice start of the season. In the off season, Matamoros, the lawyer that's in Texas, put in a complaint in the Portuguese judicial system that he wanted the elections to be verified, counted, so on and so forth. So it's kind of started there, and it unraveled little by little. But players reported to camp, and quite a bunch of players reported to camp. But before that, let's talk about the players that exited. Dave, do you want to run through that list of the players that exited?
Yeah, for sure. Our Capitão the last couple of years, Jardel, is out of contract, so he's no longer with the club. Pedrinho, player that we just brought in last season, sold to Shakhtar Donetsk for 18 million euro. Chervi was sold to Celta. Was sold to Celta Vigo for 4 million. Caio Lucas, who has been in the Arabian League last couple of seasons, was also let go to one of the Middle Eastern clubs there, Sharjah FC.
Al Sajita.
Oh, yeah.
Dave,
And-
you said that almost as well as you do Belenenses.
I know. So I don't know if I should be starting my my Arabian League podcast. Tiago Dantas loaned out to Tondela. Our boy Nuno Tavares sold to Arsenal. God bless Arsenal for 8 million euro. And Nuno Santos loaned out to Paços Ferreira.
Did you also mention David Tavares to Famalicão on a permanent sell?
That I forgot. So
And
there you go.
and Eboué at loan at supposedly Venezia. And
Was he on loan, or did I think they
he
let
was
him
he
walk?
was on loan.
He was on loan previously, but I think they finally rescinded and he walked. I don't know. I might be wrong on that, but I thought that's what I got
Yeah.
across the board. So.
But if there's anything that Benfica has done this offseason, was I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm as happy as I was last preseason when Benfica spent 100 million on players with just the sell of David Tavares. That to me was a win. That has already made our preseason or our off season a success.
David or Nuno?
Nuno, the
You
dog
said David.
lover.
Yeah, Nuno Tavares. You had said David Tavares. but-
Sorry, David went to Famalicão. Nuno went to Arsenal, and Tomás Tavares is at camp. Who else is at camp? Chiquinho, Ferro, Paulo Bernardo, Gabriel, Trimaldo, Henrique Araújo, João Ferreira, Weigl, Svilar, Samaris, Pizzi, Samuel Soares, Tiago Gouveia, Tomás Araújo, Krovinovic, Waldschmidt, Elton Leite, Gilberto, Murat, Vinícius, André Almeida, Lucas Veríssimo, Diogo Gonçalves, Darwin, Rodrigo Pinho, Odisseias, Jetson, Florentino, Gonçalo Ramos, Jota, Tomás Tavares, Tarap, Rafa, and yet to join the team, Otamendi, Everton, Vertonghen, and Seferovic, which were on international duty. So, Cristiano, quite a list here of guys, and like you said, João Mario joined them today, but quite a list here of guys.
Well, I mean, we all expected this. After Benfica went out on that shopping spree last season, and obviously the results on the field weren't what we expected. We knew that Benfica was going to have to bring back a lot of these guys that were out on loan. because there weren't going to be that many funds available, towards this summer like last summer. So I'm not surprised. But again, there's still plenty of time left in preseason here. The January transfer window. I mean, January. Jesus Christ, that one's still a long, long time away. But the summer transfer window is still a couple months left in it. So there's still going to be plenty of movement, both in and out. Hopefully, a lot more quality being brought in than leaving. So, none of this really surprises me. Jorge Jesus is going to have a full preseason with his men, and hopefully, as you said before, the guys get to know him better, and he gets to know them a lot better as well. And we all know he's a pain in the ass as a coach. His systems are very interesting, to say the least. And some of these players at times have a tough time adjusting. And hopefully with these, preseason camps and all the time spent with these guys, they will be able to get comfortable with them a little bit more. And Benfica, rather than taking off the season on a back foot like we did last year, hopefully we take off, on a full sprint and, start putting up the quality results that we all expected last season to finally come now right from the beginning, because we know, Dave, very important games coming up to kick off the season. Champions League qualifiers, that's all going to hinge on Benfica's success this year. Those games are imperative that Benfica do finally come away and qualify, get into the group of Millonarios.
Yeah. No, that's the one big objective. But so far, it's been a pretty quiet preseason for Benfica. And I don't know if it's because there's other matters at hand or other more important and impactful news, but it's been pretty quiet. I mean, Benfica's already played 4 friendly games. The first one against Benfica B, in which they lost. And at this point of the season, nothing really matters. Covilhã, they beat 2-0. Ferenc, they beat 3-2. And I think today they played Belenenses and they lost to Belenenses.
0-0 tie.
0-0, they tied to Belenenses. But look, you look at camp, and Otamendi out, Vertonghen out, Lucas Veríssimo is just coming off of an injury.
Showed up today
I mean,
too,
when you look at these lineups that have been set up by JJ, and he's basically been playing a whole team for 45 minutes and then another team for another 45 minutes. I mean, I've seen Samaris at center back in certain games. So yes, there are a lot of players, but perhaps the players that JJ wants to work with or needs more time to work with are not at camp yet. This Friday, Benfica will play Casa Pia, if I'm not mistaken, and it will be the first game that will be aired by BTV. So you'll get to see the new team. Also new, the new jerseys. What do you guys, Dave, what do you think of the new jerseys, brother?
Back to the classic red for the home kit there. It's just more of a classic look. You're right. Your regular Benfica red, white stripes on the side there. Nothing too special, but we all know at the end of the day we'll probably fork out the money for it. I'm impressed with the away kits, but again, those emblems on the front, I'm not a fan of the whatever you call it without the color on them. I'm not a fan of them. If they had the regular colors in the emblem there on that away kit, I think it'd look much better.
Yeah. I'm with you, Dave. I like the return to the proper red. No more of that orange stuff that we saw last season.
Bro, I gotta tell you something.
Go ahead, tell me something.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
Tell me.
As the time's gone on, I started to appreciate that shirt a little bit more. I actually like
the
it.
Orange shirt.
I like that. The black, I think it's dope. I think it's a different look. It's obviously not a typical Benfica shirt, but it's different. And you know me, for the years that you do, I'm a different guy. So
You're different, all right.
Yeah, I'm different, all right. So I think as time goes on, I like it a little bit better. I wasn't originally a fan of it, but as the time's worn out, and especially now, because I haven't watched games, we haven't seen that shirt in our face every single day. And so when I finally get to see someone wearing it, I'm like, oh, that looks dope. And every time I look at mine upstairs in my closet, because I got all these hanging up here, but I got a bunch of other shirts, personal stuff that guys will give me, whatever, in a totally different closet. And I just happened to go in there the other day and I saw it and I was like, man, I got to wear this one of these days. Because summertime, whatever. Problem is that my gut is not collaborating with the shirt. So, it's going to have to be put on hold. So maybe when my gut finally collaborates, it's going to be one of those retros.
No, I like the colors. The boys over at Benfica Independent did an unboxing of the new jersey, so go over to that channel and check that out. I like the colors. I like the white. As you can see, I'm wearing a white, but it's from a different year. This one, I like the white. I like the detail on the sleeves. It's red, white, and black stripe. On the back, it says 1904 SL Benfica 1904, which is a pretty nice detail. I like the jerseys, man. I can't wait to get my hands on them. Of course, if you live here in the United States, there's all these hoops that you got to jump through just to get something here and pay more for
me and Bruno, we
transportation.
got the hookup 3 days, 70. We got them quicker than the people in Portugal
Yeah,
last
but how
year.
much do you pay for the shipping?
Nothing. Freebie. It was free shipping after 149. I mean, come on. Now, the reason why I mean, and I'm not trying to name drop, that cool or anything like that, but the reason why I haven't gotten mine is because I'm trying to see if my boy Adele finally steps up. He's supposed to give me his last year. I'm trying to see if Adele finally does the right thing.
I think maybe he's just trying to see if your gut will cooperate.
He could always give me a large. I mean, his gut, it depends. If he gives me a shirt from a few seasons ago, his gut and my gut might be similar. But now, if it's the new and rejuvenated El Terapta, obviously that's going to be a little tight. But nowadays, the tight stuff is in, right? With the Ambigu, you can tell
stuff.
You can tell
Yeah,
the
what is-
Ambigu and everything.
What do they call that? Player issue, right? Player issue.
This must
And
be a
they-
Canadian thing, Dave.
No, you go in classic football and you get the player issue kits, and they're the skin tight.
Oh, you
Yeah,
player.
it's-
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, them skin.
yeah.
You know what I hate? I used to hate those copper ones. Remember, like I think like
They were
14.
Pumas.
They used to have the ones that were like skin
super tight with the
tight.
Pumas too.
Oh, man,
The
I
Pumas
hated.
were
I
super
hated them
tight.
things. I hated them things.
Yeah, but anyway,
But yeah, nonetheless.
So as I mentioned, preseason's been pretty quiet, with the exception of this whole Krovinovic thing, which I don't think is much of a subject. But yeah, the Krovinovic
I think he got played.
was
I
yeah.
think
He,
got
he
done
sent a
dirty.
message to what I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was another player. I don't know if it was his personal friend, but it just so
I think
happens
he made a mistake and sent it to Jesus.
he made a mistake and sent it to a reporter or something. I don't know, but the whole thing was leaked, obviously, and I don't know if you've heard it, but basically he's saying, well, we had a friendly game, and can you believe that I didn't play? And the assistant coach went to JJ and said, hey, what about Krovinovic? I'll let him stay over there just in case somebody gets hurt, and I didn't play. And he said,
But
fuck,
what was
man,
wrong with that?
this son of a
But
bitch.
what was wrong with that?
There was
But
nothing
honestly,
wrong. There was
The
nothing
coach says,
wrong.
"Yo, I don't need him to play. If somebody gets hurt, he plays." What's wrong
Absolutely,
with that?
there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that a lot of players have that venting to other players or to their friends or to their girlfriends, whatever. It just so happened that this one came to public. So as it turns out, Benfica has disciplined Krovinovic, and he's been suspended. He's not
That's
training with the main team. I don't think that JJ had even any plans to keep Krovinovic. And then again, you're looking at a guy that has spent the past couple seasons in England, hasn't really asserted himself. So, I mean, if you don't assert yourself in England, even at the championship level, do you have the quality caliber for Benfica?
It's a delicate situation. It really is, because if you look, as you mentioned, I mean, I'd say 30%, if not more, of the guys that you mentioned, they were all taking part in preseason training camp with Benfica. 30% of those guys, I think they're going to be gone at some point. And with all these questions surrounding the club and who's in charge, who's not in charge, are they going to be able to guarantee themselves some things financially? And there's just so many questions. And it's going to be very difficult to move so many guys. And especially when you have, Rui Costa, who's supposed to be the director sportivo, right? And in other words, I know he got promoted to vice president, yada, yada, yada. But these prior.
Before.
I'm talking before. Yeah.
Yep.
He, and he was the guy that was technically supposed to, work on with players, bringing them in, bringing them out, whatever. And now it's just so many questions to be answered. I wonder if they're going to have the time, right? And I know it sounds stupid, but the time or the people, the right people in place to handle such a difficult off season in terms of, just having to find a place to for these guys. At the end of the day, you can't just throw all these guys onto your B team. A lot of them don't want to stay and play in the second
but
division.
there's a lot of young kids that will eventually end up in the B team. I
you think
doubt
about a
that
guy
any
like
of the young-
Grovinovic. You think he's going to play on a B team?
Sure, you're
I
gonna
don't-
play
I-
on a B team until a championship team will tell Benfica we want to loan him out. We'll pay his wages, and he'll go to the championship again. I think that Grovinovic is a lot better than the B team or Portugal's second division. And then there's that thing with Benfica where you're limited to the amount of players that you can loan out
There's
to
three now.
other
changed the rules.
Liga NOS teams.
Yeah.
So the workaround that Benfica has been doing is sell the player, keep like 50% or 75% of their
50.
rights, and then have also the right of first refusal, and then bring the player back. So that's the loophole that Benfica has found.
Not Benfica. All Portuguese clubs do
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
They all do that.
But we see, I'm more aware of what Benfica is doing than other teams. But anyway, it's a lot of players, and Michael Biondi is asking us about João Mario and Dave. Let's talk about the guys that came in.
Yeah, for sure. Michael Biondi wants to know about João Mario. Was loaned out to Sporting last season, made 34 appearances, 28 starts, and 2 goals scored. But since being signed by Inter in the summer of 2016, only made 69 appearances for Inter with 3 loan spells between West Ham, Lokomotiv Moscow, and Sporting before being released.
Yeah. What about the other 2 guys, Dave?
Gil Diaz coming in from Monaco, spent last season on loan at Famalicão, made
My
33.
hometown, baby. My hometown.
Gafanha, right?
That's right. He's
Made
the
30
second most famous Benfiquista after Mio. No, I'm joking. Nobody knows who the hell I am.
You're not the mayor of Gafanha?
There's like 7 of them, so it depends who you ask.
He's the mayor, but he's in trouble with the law, so he suspended himself from being the mayor.
Yeah, I'm taking my
Then he-
talent style shit.
He fits right in then if he's a mayor. Back to Gil Diaz here. 33 appearances, 28 starts, 2 goals scored last season. Former wonder kid. You'd love to have him on your football manager a couple of years ago with so much potential there, but signed with Monaco back in 2015, made only 15 appearances with the senior squad and numerous loan spells as well with Verzin, Riwa, Fiorentina, Nottingham Forest, Olympiacos, Granada, and last season with Famalicão. So, like I said, still only 24, but was definitely a wonder kid years past. And the other guy that we brought in, Rodrigo Pinho, which we spoke about in previous podcasts last season, but last season, 21 appearance for Marítimo, 15 starts, 15 goals, experienced striker who's played in the Portuguese league since 2015.
Yeah, so let's start with these guys, right? So Rodrigo Pinho has had some success at Marítimo. This whole thing really is, he's already 30 years old, I believe, right? Is that what you said, Dave?
Yep,
Rodrigo
30.
Pinho. Yeah, he's 30 years old. Benfica has given him a contract of 4 years to 2026. As a matter of fact, Benfica gave all 3 guys that have signed the 4-year contract. Rodrigo Pinho is a guy that I have my doubts on it. Granted that he played at Marítimo, and Marítimo wasn't really an attacking team, and perhaps he did a lot more defending than he was supposed to, so he didn't really showcase his talents, but I'm a little suspect in terms of what he could add to this team, especially if we only play with 1 forward. I don't know what you think, Cristiano. I know you probably haven't seen him much play against Marítimo. He did score against Benfica. I think it was the season before last.
My thing on Rodrigo Pinho is it's very simple. It comes down to this. I totally 100% agreed with Benfica signing him last January because I thought Benfica was in dire need of another guy up top. Darwin was in shambles, right? The only guy we could really count on at the time was Sferovic. You had Gonzalo Ramos, who, whatever, hadn't really taken advantage of the very few opportunities. And then when he finally started was towards the end of the season, right? So I thought Benfica at that time needed another striker to come in and not just to compete, but also to support and be another option.
To add to
right?
depth.
Exactly, to add to the team depth. And I was a big fan of his. Like, as far as I thought at the time, a very cheap acquisition. And I thought it could have solved maybe a couple of problems because Benfica was still in the Taça Portugal, was still in the Taça de Cerveja, was still in a couple of different competitions. I thought you could have given him the minutes to get Seferovic and the Darwins, right, to get Darwin healthy. And then obviously Darwin was out for a long period of time. But to get the Seferovics of the world a little bit more fresh legs and stuff for the upcoming tough games ahead. But that was then.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, okay, unless, and I do believe that there's a possibility that Seferovic does leave, right? But even if he does leave, is really Rodrigo Pinho going to be a number one guy up top? I don't think so. I know Vinicius is back, and
Yeah.
I like, look, and I know I killed him. Not killed him, but I wasn't his biggest fan. The 1 year spent with Benfica, even though he led the league in goals. But I now I see it totally different. I think he'd be welcome to this club. I think, he's a guy that could definitely help Benfica up top. You got Darwin, who will be healthy at some point in the middle of September, hopefully. Gonçalo Ramos has proved that he could, deserves a little bit more time. All right. And you like to give a kid like that a little bit more of an opportunity in order to develop and see what you really got in this type of player. And so I don't really see the space for a guy like Pinho. And then there's so many other rumors out there with so many other guys coming in, right? And it just seems like they're all strikers. So, look, something's got to give. Seferovic is probably going to be gone. I still don't believe that Vinicius is going to be on this roster come the end of the transfer window. I think he's going to be there for the Champions League qualifiers for 100%. But after that, I think we all know Jorge Mendes is involved. Your mother might not be safe. So we'll see what happens. I still think that there's a lot of turnover. But regarding Pinho, I think right now at this point, I don't see what why you even add him to the team on a 4-year deal. You want to give that guy a 2-year deal, whatever works out, great.
Well, 30 years old, give him a 2 years.
And he just had knee surgery too, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he not knee surgery, but he was out for a little bit. Also Darwin, as you mentioned, is out till September. He had to undergo knee arthroscopy.
Darwin,
sorry.
Yeah.
Who did I say?
I don't know. I'm asking you because I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, Darwin, no, he had the arthroscopy. So.
But yeah, I mean, and then João Guilherme also said that Benfica was looking at the Ukrainian guy, Yarmolenko.
I'll take him on the team. But again, you only got room for so many guys.
Yeah. And then when you look at the system that JJ wants to play with, how many forwards are we going to be carrying? And I understand COVID's still around and this and that, and it's going to be a long season. But really, I mean, you're just blocking somebody. Gonçalo Ramos, somebody asked here on the chat if Gonçalo Ramos was going to get some playing time. I don't know. It all depends. I'm hoping that what Seferovic did in the Euros, that somebody will come and pick him up for good money. I would welcome that. I'm not the biggest fan of Seferovic. I think that he can run hot and cold, most of it cold. And I think that if we sell him for 20 million, I think it would be great, especially because we need to make money.
Well, the question is, did Benfica learn their lesson? When he scored 31 goals, I think that was the time to ship him, and they didn't. Now he had a really good Euro. His market probably hasn't been as high as that season when he scored 31. Did Benfica learn from their mistakes? I think 25 mil, anything over 25 mil, I would take.
Take him to the airport.
Listen, I think we like to beat
on 25 mil.
I think we like to beat on that guy. Yeah, we bought a guy for 25 mil that when he scored, people were crying because it's like a miracle. Finally, he cried. Oh my God, he scored!
No,
finally.
it was Darwin that was crying last year when he was scoring. It was Darwin.
That's what he meant.
Yeah, there's people crying, and you know what I mean, getting sentimental over a guy that was worth 25 million. Come on, for Christ's sake! Look, I would sell him too, but I think he's the Patinho Feio that everybody likes to beat on.
Yeah, Gil Dias. To me, I mean, it's one of Cristiano's just excited for him because he's from his hometown in
and
Portugal.
then his agent's my cousin, Gafanhoto.
So yeah, so he's excited about him. I don't know. It could be a utility player. He could be a player that JJ maybe converts to a left back.
The problem I got
he's done with so many.
The problem I got with Gil Dias is that I heard that JJ intends to play him a left back. So I'm like, but then again, I mean, could he be worse defensively than what Grimaldo is?
Probably not. Probably not.
Let's be honest. You think Gil Dias playing left back is worse than Nuno Tavares?
No.
Arsenal might come buy him next season too.
Yeah, we'll be at
Arsenal said we got the
fan.
wrong guy. But anyway, in terms of what our latest acquisition has been, João Mario, which we signed today. So apparently, Benfica had offered 7.5 million to Inter. Estás a fazer, pá?
I don't know.
Benfica had offered 7.5 million to Inter. Inter wanted more money. Sporting didn't want to offer enough, even though Sporting had the right of first refusal or had to match the offer. Blah 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 blah. Apparently, there's a anti-rival clause that Inter signed that João Mario cannot be playing for Benfica or Porto. So the workaround is nothing but trafolhice. The workaround that was João Mario just rescinded his contract with Inter, and he was free to sign with Benfica. So out of a contract, he's no longer obligated, or Inter's no longer obligated to pay that clause to Sporting. But now Sporting is saying that they will be taking that to courts. But anyway,
Inter came down with the whipping stick. I was like, yo, don't be dirtying our name.
yeah.
They-
I saw how fast they
Yo,
communicated.
They call it the bidon, like Quaresma wanted. They give an award out where they actually the media, they chase guys down. Quaresma got it as he stopped at a red light. It's the bidon. I forget what it's called. It's like a bin, like a metal bin.
Yeah,
that's
it's
the award for being the worst.
player.
I'm pretty sure João Mario won those a couple of years. And so I think Inter probably gave
No, but-
Benfica
but now-
7.5 to take him.
But now, seriously, what are your thoughts on João Mario?
About what I think about João Mario. I think João Mario is one of those players that não faz nada bem e não faz nada mal.
So he's an Andre Almeida.
You know, you don't notice that guy at the end of the game. But now, all jokes aside, look, last year we had a similar situation where a guy who had that future clause and yada 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 in his contract, former Benfica player Nuno Santos and Rio Ave, went to Sporting, and a lot of Benfiquistas didn't really care much about that transfer, right? Benfica apparently said, "Look, we're not going to apply the clause, yada yada yada. We're good." And the guy turned around and he became look, I don't want to say he was the reason why Sporting won the championship, but he was a big part of it. You know, he had some crucial goals, he had some big moments for the club, and he helped Sporting finally win their first title in 53 years. And so I think a lot of people are kind of looking at João Mario the same way. They don't really care that he's gone to Benfica. Then again, Sportingistas, anything to do with Benfica, obviously, you know, they go crazy. But a lot of Benfiquistas probably aren't paying attention to this signature. But at the end of the day, he could be a crucial guy because if he's going to come in and he's going to play in the JJ system, JJ knows him well. His best season was when he played under JJ at Sporting. He knows JJ well. He knows what JJ asks of a player that plays this position. So, I mean, I think at the end of the year, if we're sitting here a year from now, we're comparing his signature to the Nuno Santos to Sporting, where a lot of people maybe didn't pay too much attention to him. They didn't think that he was going to add that much quality to the roster.
He did.
And then ultimately, he's had some big moments, and he helped us along the way to conquer, the title. I think we'll all be here on the Benfica podcast once again, singing his praises.
To me, the most encouraging thing about João Mario is that he understands JJ, and JJ has worked with him, and he's really had good years under JJ when JJ was at Sporting. So I'm encouraged about that. The other thing is that we really don't have a player like João Mario right now. We are Taarabt, but Taarabt can't defend. I think Taarabt is a little bit more creative and more adventurous with the ball than João Mario, but I think João Mario brings a lot of consistency, if you want to call it, to the midfield. He's a good passer of the ball. He's not a long-range passer of the ball. He's a guy that holds the ball well. He's a guy that reads the game well. I think that he could be somebody that's going to fit well within this system that JJ is trying to devise. Obviously, you need to have a guy that is going to be that defensive anchor, and I don't know if Weigl is going to be that player, but I don't know. I'm excited about João Mario, to be honest with you, and I know Cristiano, you're not so hot about him, but I think that he's the one guy, that 8 that we kind of been hoping that we have and that we haven't had. He can also be deployed on the right wing.
The only thing he does, that's where he played for Ruben Amorim. The only thing that I see that he potentially does better than Maboya Del Taarabt is, you know, we talked about last year where there were those spurts in the game, there was huge gaps, there was nobody really carrying the ball upfield, there wasn't that link of play, and I think he could do that.
Yeah.
That's about it. João Mario is a guy that doesn't have a lot of goals in him. He's a guy that does. I mean, again, I don't want to be critical of his because he could turn around and have a good game, then he could be quiet for a few games. But again, I think the best compliment that I could give a guy like João Mario is simple. He doesn't do anything bad, just like he doesn't do anything extraordinary. So he's a very consistent player, you know, very safe. Always, you know, picks out a pass. He's not a guy that's going to take many risks. And I guess ultimately you're going to need those types of players on the field when you have, you know, the Darwins of the world, even Tarapto when they're on the field together. Those guys that like to take chances, you know, Everton, a guy who's going to like to take players one-on-one. It's good to have a guy that's more sure with his passes, I guess, in the end. So look, I'm not totally against it at that price. Even though he rescinded, we know he's probably going to have to pay him back with the signing bonus Benfica's going to give him, yada yada yada. But even if he got to pay 7.5 mil, I don't think it's the worst signing. I mean, when you consider Benfica spent 25 million on a second division striker, I think João Mario for 7.5 is a good deal.
Yeah. Dave, thoughts on João Mario?
I think I'll let the jury still be out on it. I'm not going to criticize him for coming from a rival. I think we did that last year with Otamendi, and he was quick to shut us up, the ones that were against that, or I thought if he had any still ties to Porto. So I'll give João Mario the benefit of the doubt. And like you said, he's got that history with JJ. So still only 28, 29 too. So he's not,
28.
yeah, it's not that old either. And I think for the Portuguese league, he'll do his job and we'll shore up that midfield.
Yeah. I like Sergio's comment. William Carvalho and João Mario middle and watch the lags' heads explode. Yeah, that'll be great, except if we signed William right now, he wouldn't arrive until the winter window. But anyway, that's the only three guys that we've signed so far. So after last year's extravaganza of 100 million and seeing how we spent money, and we all kind of told you guys, or we told you how we felt about what had happened with the elections and everything, and so we kind of knew that all that spending, it wasn't to put together a team to win the Champions League or to be competitive in the Champions League. It was to appease the fans, because obviously now that we see everything that's gone on with Luis Felipe Vieira and understanding that he needed to protect himself with another 4 years of the presidency, he went on all out, brought JJ back, signed big name players that didn't have the impact that we expected him to have. But this year, Benfica has been quiet. And again, COVID, no fans in the stadium. There was a lot of money that was lost last year in terms of gate revenue. So I understand the fact that Benfica now is being a little bit more timid in the market. And again, I think it's going to depend a lot on who goes out. But I think that maybe JJ needs a couple more guys here and there. But the amount of people that are already at camp, I don't know. He's gonna have to figure out.
Look, the fact of the matter is, we all know that last year's midfield didn't work. And as much as, you know, I like Adele, and as much as you guys like to hit on Adele, right? It wasn't a fit. I still expect Benfica at some point to bring in Al Musrati from Braga. I think that'll be an exceptional signing. Unfortunately for you Vigo fans, I think if a Musrati comes in, it most likely means that Vigo will be on his way out. But I think you put in a defensive guy and a motor and a tractor, like, you know, with the aggressiveness of a Musrati. You put a guy that's disciplined in the middle of the field like a João Mario. And again, as much as I like Adel Taarabt, I think that is a huge improvement. And I think Benfica needs to shore up the middle of the pitch, that spine. It's important. Any successful team is going to have the spine of the team is going to be very strong. And I think they need to shore up the middle of the park, because last year was way too inconsistent. Benfica went, I mean, you guys remember as well as I do, they went for like, a month and a half, whatever it was, 2 months, that you knew every single game was like, yo, put up 2 goals. That's it. Benfica's giving up 2 today. And so until they tighten things up in the back, it was ugly. And I don't think they want to relive that once again. So again, you bring in a guy like João Mario, who's very consistent, very disciplined in the middle, is surely going to help. And maybe, it frees up the guys like Everton, the skillful guys, to ply their trade a little bit better, to go ahead and play with the Ginga that these guys are accustomed to playing with. And it frees up these guys to be a little bit more like themselves.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with you. And
Hey, look, it's not a sexy signing. We haven't gotten a sexy signing yet. The only sexy sign we got the guy from Gaffania. But you know what I mean? But as far as that sizzle that we're looking for in the big contratações, we haven't gotten it yet. But João Mario could turn around and be that guy. Look, let's not forget, this is a guy that was a part of the Portuguese national team. This is a guy that Inter Milan splashed some serious cash on. So at some point, he didn't fool just Lagartos. He had to fool others as well to think that he was, some quality player. And so hopefully being with a familiar coach in JJ, we'll get the best out of him.
Yeah. Robert Fernandes. Musrati has been mentioned for a while, and I agree with you. And I did read the same, that Benfica was trying to lower his price by sending Chiquinho and João Ferreira up to Braga in exchange for Musrati and some cash, obviously, along with those players. Some cash, some cash. But yeah, and the other one that I read today is Diego Costa, maybe. But that's been something that's that's been spoken about in a little bit. I don't know how much of that is true or not. But Cristiano, how do you feel about Diego Costa?
I told you today when we spoke about this in the group chat, I would fly out to Portugal, pay top dollar to sit anywhere near, like, if I could be on a bench, even better. Like, that you could hear the players, what they're saying in and out. But I'd pay top dollar to see that first matchup between Pepe and Diego Costa, because that'd be worth the price of admission right there. Because one guy chewing the other guy's ears, the other guy stomping on the chest. I think that'd be very entertaining.
Yeah. Nelson Carvalho asks, what's our starting 11? And I think it's a little bit early to
premature ejaculation.
It's a little bit early to even say that, and I think that it's going to depend a lot on how JJ is going to line up. Is
JJ still going to be there at the end of September? By the time the president gets alive, we don't know. We don't look. He is calling the president every day.
That's what they're saying.
Isn't the president banned?
Suspended president.
Isn't the president suspended from prohibited from being in contact with anybody? Isn't he violating some type of law? We don't. I mean,
well, he's got to give the tactics to JJ, because the JJ doesn't know. So the starting 11 is going to depend a lot on the system. So we saw the three men set up, three defenders set up. We've also seen the 4-4-2.
See, I think with a João Mario,
it's going to allow you to play with the three. But here's the thing:
but then you don't have
Otamendi, you don't have Vertonghen. Lucas Veríssimo is slowly getting into fitness, because when he started camp, he was in the trainer's room. He wasn't available right away.
And the other kid, Araújo, who's a center back, is also injured.
And Ferro's there also, but I don't know if he rates Ferro. But here's the thing: you got three of your main center backs that JJ counted on that are not going to be readily available to start the season at 100%.
Okay, but let's say they are. But, I mean, I do believe they are. I mean, we're still a month away from playing an official game, right? I think so.
Okay,
it's a couple weeks. But now here's my question. Let's just say that all three guys come in fresquinhos, right?
Yeah.
And JJ opts for a 3-4-3 like he did last season, right? Who's your fourth center back? Jardel's gone. I mean, you think Benfica is going to have? I do, but I'm asking you.
Well, you got Murat, you got Ferro.
Are you? I mean, again,
if you're going with three center backs, you got to carry at least five.
Yeah, but you need another surefire center back, a guy that you can rely on, because first of all, you got a
surefire is a starter.
A guy that
in your mind,
a guy that could substitute for any other guy, and you don't skip a beat. Because that's
right now we don't have one.
Your backup. Normally, even if you play two center backs, you have a third center back that you could throw in there at any time with all comfortable, and
that guy will be Vertonghen.
Would be. That's in the 2, but I'm just saying in the 3. He goes back to his 3-4-3.
Right.
right now you're in trouble. I think Benfica is going to have to go out and get another center back.
I don't know, man.
You trust Morato?
when you have
Or for
Ferro,
one game, you see Ferro.
no, when you have Ferro and Muratu, right? And I know that
Combine the two of them, you don't get a. Come on, Alfredo.
I don't think that a player stops knowing how to play football, right?
Mhm.
When Lage took over and Ferro and Dias were the two center back pairing,
2 years ago.
right? I thought at times that Ferro was better than Dias
Yes.
in terms of the passing
He
ability,
was.
in
With
terms
the ball
of
at
the
his feet,
composure.
he was without a doubt. Without a
He
doubt.
got stricken by a confidence blow.
Okay.
He lost all his confidence,
Uh-huh.
and all of a sudden, he was no longer a viable option.
And then wait, but then the guy has a change of scenery and he plays the first game and then disappears. Doesn't make another appearance
right,
for the club.
he goes to Valencia. He plays
Play
against
Real
Barca,
Madrid.
Real Madrid.
And then it was like, okay, ciao Laura. You never seen him again. Look, and I'm not trying to sit here and poo on a Ferro because I look, as you said, at one point we thought this dude was legit, right? And he was. He represented himself well.
Where you get his
but
mojo back?
He has, brother. You are being a fanatico. I mean, I hope you're
I'm
right,
just saying.
but that shit don't work
But
like
I
that.
don't think he's the type of center back that JJ likes. That's the thing.
Here we go. We're all trying to point the fingers at JJ. That's why I mentioned
not,
Valencia.
but-
At the end of the day, Ferro lost his count. Whether you call it losing his count, whatever. Ferro is not the same player, and we're going on a year now, and not even a year because if you recall,
More than a year.
more than because when Lage, when the wheels fell off the wagon, he was atrocious for Lage. The first 6 months he was terrific. Then the second, after that, this December turnaround where Benfica just started losing game after game after game after game, Ferro was a shell of himself. So it's been a year and a half since we've seen that player. Now, Alfredo, I'm sorry, it is very naive whether you're Rui Costa, Jorge Jesus, Bruno Braz, whatever his name, Ricardo Braz, what's his name? Braz, the new guy that came in.
Bacalhau Abras.
Whatever the guy, that came, whatever, whomever is making these decisions for Benfica today, it's naive of any one of them to think that, bro, by the snap of a finger, you're going to get the same player back. It's just not going to happen. The odds of it are more on the side of Ferro not regaining that confidence, not regaining, the ability to play as he did before than it is on him actually getting it. And then Muratu, I'm not sure. I mean, he played a good half hour. What I think he played the whole game actually, right? Again, 90 minutes.
Yeah, he played the whole game, and then
against Guimarães, and then when Guimarães started really pressuring us, we won the.
I just think that if you're going to invest money, and what we know from Benfica, the priority is not going to be on a center back, because there's no market for a center back. Benfica buys to sell.
Well, if you really
same way that we haven't invested on a good right back for years.
If you really want to get into it, this is why I didn't understand, and I know a lot of people disagree, but that's fine. You know me, I don't care because I got my own ideas. But it didn't make no sense that Benfica didn't go after the kid Fabio Cardoso, because I think he would have. He's good enough to play in the Portuguese league.
I agree with you.
He's better than Morato today. I don't know what he's going to be next year, but today he's better than Morato. He's better than Ferro, and he would have been a guy that would have been content with sitting as the fourth center back as a backup and playing the few minutes that he was going to get the opportunity when an Otamendi's not available, Verissimo, Vertonghen, and he's good enough in the Tuga League to play those minutes. Now, if you're talking about going with him into the Champions League, I still think he's adequate. He still do the job. But I'd have a lot more confidence in a guy like that. It was going to cost you $2.5 million. The amount that the president supposedly stole from the club, you could have gotten yourself a Fabio Cardoso. All right? And right now, you wouldn't have these questions about who's going to be your fourth center back. Because I'm to you guys, that is huge. That's huge for me. That's huge.
Because if a priority had been a center back, Benfica would have jumped at Cardoso. And Cardoso with two offers, one from Benfica and Porto, he prefers to go to Benfica. Because the priority is not in a center back, and because Benfica says we got to put our money elsewhere other than the center back because we're deep, albeit not in the quality that we need, they would have gone out and gotten a center back. They would have paid Cardoso because, as you said, cheap to get, right? And a quality guy that's ahead of Ferro, and that's only perhaps a step below Vertonghen, if not at the same level of Vertonghen.
To me, it made absolutely no sense why Benfica didn't go after one of their own. And I still think, and at the end of the day, it's a position that needs strengthening because I have no confidence that again, Moratu is ready. Look, I'm not saying he's not going to be ready at some point, and the problem is he needs to play in order to get to that level, if he's ever going to get to that level. But right now, I can't go into this season counting on Ferro and Moratu as my backup options when I got 233 or 34-year-olds starting as my center backs. Verissimo, who's only been here for 6 months, but he's been hurt. It seems like he's picking up injuries left and right. Might be a little bit injury prone. I don't want to be unfair to the guy. I'm just pointing out a fact. So it looks more than likely you're going to have to play one of these kids at some point because you have so many question marks back there and they're not ready. Imagine you're telling me you got a guy who's lost confidence in a Ferro when you played under a coach that did nothing but give youngsters confidence in the Bruno Lage. Imagine him getting chewed out by JJ the whole game. I mean, the guy's going to dig a hole on the floor and bury himself. Right in the middle of the field as the game's going on. You see him over there digging in. Like, yo, what you doing? Like, I want to get away from this cabron. You know what I mean? Him and Krovinovic, they'll be helping each other out, digging a hole. But, dude, for real, all jokes aside, you can't really tell me that you're confident right now. I think Benfica is going to have, and again, Fabio Cardoso would have been a perfect guy, a guy that would have been concerned.
I agree with you.
So I think they're going to have
to go.
But that
just shows me that the priority is not a center back because they could have stayed. They could have stayed in Portugal and grabbed Fabio Cardoso.
Too fair. Sometimes it's their ineptitude.
Yeah,
and you're calling it. It's not a. I call it ineptitude. I think sometimes o Chico esperto pensa que é mais esperto que o Chico, mas a realidade o Chico é mais esperto que ele. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. What do you think, Bruno?
Cristiano, if you got $1 and you could buy dois Pop 6 instead of buying a Pop 6 and it'd be funner, you buy those Pop 6 because you could eat one today and one tomorrow and not go hungry tomorrow.
No, because but I could do that because I could eat the Pop 6 now and eat the be funner later. Don't forget. That's not. I don't know. That was a joke that it was.
Maybe then that wasn't a good analogy.
No, it was a player. That was the question from, was it Baggio, Maradona? I forget. I know where you're referring. And the question was, if you could buy, Zizou. Might have been Zizou. I forget. If you could have 2 hamburgers or you could have a pizza, what would you get? And the answer was everybody saying pizza. And it was a big-time player. And he goes, no, I'd get 2 hamburgers because I could have one today and have another one tomorrow for a meal. It was might have been Fernando Alonso.
You can have pizza?
It was Fernando Alonso.
You can have a pizza. You can have a pizza for 8 days.
A slice of pizza. I don't know, but it was Fernando Alonso, the Formula One driver. He said that. I knew that made sense. Fernando Alonso said, "I get both hamburgers because it could have 2 different meals."
Chico Marcelino. Chico, it's been a while, man. Good seeing you, man. You guys think Florentino's ready to start for Benfica? I think he's ready to start. I just don't think he's JJ's player. I don't know what Benfica is going to do with this many center backs. To be honest, I mean center mids. I think to be honest with you,
I think Florentino's ready to start at Tondela. Oh, did I say that out loud? Yo, I'm sorry. No, look, I like Fiorentino, and I want Fiorentino on the roster, but I'd be 100% more comfortable with Al Murzarati coming in, being my starter, and having Florentino on the wings, learning from a guy like that, and playing all those other minutes in those games that the backups play, and let the kid develop. I do think there's a player there, but right now he lacks the pass forward. He lacks what JJ like. Look, it's important to get the ball, and he's tremendous. He is tremendous at that. That's one thing I tip my cap to him. He's like, what they call the tentacles of an octopus. The dude's everywhere. Tremendous at recuperating balls. But sometimes when you get that ball and you can spring off for a counterattack and, he'll go sideways. And I think that's the part of his game that he's lacking. And you want to call it a JJ thing, but I don't know who the hell the head coach was at Monaco. But apparently, it wasn't a Monaco thing either because he didn't get a lot of burn. So I think he has to develop that aspect of his game. And so playing with a guy as a Murzarati with that intensity, that aggressiveness would actually, I think, trickle down, and it would be good to to learn from a veteran like that. I think it would do it'd do Florentino a lot of justice. I think it'd be great for him.
All of that to really, we didn't even answer the question. What's our starting 11? And we went on a rant. We went on a.
We couldn't even come up with the formation.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, it's really going to depend on that formation. I think that, and then Guy was also asking if we see Svilar starting. I think that number one.
Oh no, he's for
the number one position. I think is going to be Elton Late. I think that
Oh, that
Svilar
that
and
says Felovic.
Svilar in the last year of contract, Benfica has to be very careful if they want to keep Svilar,
He doesn't want to resign.
because if
Inside
Svilar
news. Don't let nobody know.
if Svilar doesn't get some decent playing time, he's just gonna go. Like Cristiano said, he's not gonna sign. Maybe Odysseus will go before the winter. I mean the
Look,
transfer window
Odysseus is another
closes.
player, as I mentioned before, with so much uncertainty in the infrastructure of Benfica and so many players having to go out. There's going to be a lot of questions to be answered. And I think a guy like that, Vlaco Dimos, is a guy that I think he's going to want to be out, especially if he's going to sit behind Elton Late. And I do believe that Elton Late today deserves, based on what we saw from him last year, he deserves to come back as the number one. And so I think he's going to want to go out. And there's just so many questions, man. I hope that the stability at the club, I know it's not going to happen overnight, but we need to at least, get that part of the infrastructure correct, getting it straightened out, because it's important to bring in players and let players go out, because we have a very important season ahead of us, as everybody mentioned. And I think in the comunicado today, they mentioned one on the list of things they wanted to do is qualify for the Champions League. Obviously, a blind person could have seen that one coming. But, it's important. And the Vlaco Dimos is a guy that fits that list of, he's a starter. So if he's gone, do you promote Svilar to number two? Do you have to go out and get another goalie? So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and hopefully,
and as the
these
preseason
progresses,
as the preseason progresses, you'll start seeing cuts here and there, and the team's starting to take shape. But yeah, lots of questions, and the fact that the Benfica camp has been so quiet, with the exception of the Krovinovic situation, has kind of distracted. They're kind of flying under the radar a little bit. So we'll just have to see how it shakes out. Anyway, anything else that you wanted to say before we get into this Luis Felipe Vieira thing?
Oh, but I'll make shit up just so we don't talk about that. I'll be rambling. I'll be rambling. Yeah, guys. Anybody else miss André Almeida? Andrezinho, neck on the spot.
So I just wanted to. As I mentioned, I'm going to try to explain this the best as I can. And again, just like here in the States, all accused are innocent until convicted, or presumed innocent until guilty. How does that go?
Innocent until proven guilty.
There you go. Something like that.
Oh, forget it. We need.
So I'll read you a short statement that I basically I translated from a ball, and I hope this makes sense. So, the public ministry or the MP considers that there were fraud schemes in favor of companies belonging to Luis Felipe Vieira's group, with Benfica being the biggest loser. The MP believes that in addition to SAD, Banco Espírito Santo, Novo Banco, and the state were also harmed by schemes between companies in Vieira and companies owned and controlled by businessman Bruno Macedo, held in Operation Red Card.
I told you this when this whole started. Before we get into, I give Portuguese authorities, there might be a whole lot of smoke about a lot of things, and these guys never wind up in jail. But I give them credit; they come up with clever names. Operação Cartão Vermelho. Yo, applause. Right. They deserve.
At issue are crimes of qualified fraud, aggravated breach of trust, forgery of documents, money laundering, and qualified tax fraud. According to what Abola found out, the MP estimates that Benfica SAD was injured in total of 2.5 million, money that allegedly came out of the Eagles' coffers to pay transfer commissions to businessman Bruno Macedo. The money reached companies controlled by Bruno Macedo and collaborators Nuno Sérgio Durães, Lopes, Antonio Rodrigues Sá, Dantas, blah, blah, blah. 2 companies based in Portugal, BM Consulting and Yes Sports, and 4 abroad with headquarters in the United States, United Arab Emirates, and Tunisia. Let's see, the sports fund. Companies that MP believes to be offshores. In the investigation, the money would reach these companies, and then between 2016 and 2017, it would go to companies of Luis Felipe Vieira Group, Promo Valor, and Votion. According to the one of the authorities' investigations, the alleged fraud schemes determined that Bruno Macid reached an agreement with Luís Filipe Vieira so that Benfica SAD would carry out excessive payments in player transfer commissions, whether hiring or selling. Bruno Macid suspects the investigation of forging documents. One of the suspicions is allegedly false invoices to justify the circulation of funds. The ministry stresses that the scheme benefited Luís Filipe Vieira's companies in three transfers. They're Luís Gonzalez, Claudio Correa, and Cesar Martins. So basically, I don't know if you understood the gist. So Benfica would buy these players. They would inflate the commissions. The commissions would be taken by Bruno Macid, deposited into these companies, offshore companies, and then sometime in the future, these companies would pay Luís Filipe Vieira's companies outside of Benfica these commissions. So Vieira was benefiting from inflating prices of commissions to his own personal use. But that's just a little bit of what we know and what was basically a broad painting of the picture. Luís Filipe Vieira was arrested on the 7th. He suspended his presidency on the 9th. Rui Costa declared himself as the president, and I'm going to play a little audio of Rui Costa in his presentation.
Costa. Boa noite a todos. Sou a partir de hoje presidente do Sport Lisboa e Benfica, na exata medida dos estatutos do clube. Assumo esta liderança com o mesmo orgulho, a mesma paixão e compromisso com que vesti pela primeira vez a camisola do nosso Benfica. Decidi fazer a minha apresentação enquanto presidente no meio do relevado, onde com a nossa camisola vivi os momentos mais felizes da minha vida. Sei a responsabilidade que hoje assumo, sei o que os benfiquistas esperam de mim, sei o que os benfiquistas esperam de quem está nesta posição. E tudo farei, tudo darei de mim para que o clube seja cada vez maior. Os tempos são desafiantes, mas não são tempos de divisões. São tempos de nos unirmos em prol daquilo que é o mais importante, o Sport Lisboa e Benfica. As nossas prioridades hoje são a preparação das épocas desportivas, quer do futebol, quer das modalidades, e temos que o fazer com o maior das ambições. Este será sempre o meu foco, este será sempre o meu lema: ganhar. Quero também transmitir uma mensagem de confiança aos nossos colaboradores, aos nossos parceiros, aos comerciais, aos financeiros, mas acima de tudo aos nossos sócios. O mesmo, enquanto presidente da SAD, aos nossos obrigacionistas, que continuaremos a honrar, como sempre fizemos até aqui, os nossos compromissos. Saberei ouvir as mensagens dos benfiquistas, pondo sempre os interesses do clube à frente de qualquer coisa que apareça. Serei sempre um de vocês. Quero um Benfica forte, um Benfica unido, e trabalharei diariamente para que isso aconteça. Viva o Benfica. Boa noite.
So in short, what he said was, pay your membership fees and buy the new shirt.
All right. So listen, there's a couple things here that you could take from this presentation. First of all, there's nothing in the statutes that say if a president is been arrested, the vice president will take over. There's no such thing, because when the 24 guys that got together in 1904 to write the statutes, right, they would never write a statute. Oh, if one of us gets arrested, right, that's not something that you write in. So the loophole on this was Vieira suspending his presidency. And by that suspension, I think there's something within the statutes that will allow him to nominate who will take over for him. Apparently, that nomination happened internally in November. So a month after the election, Vieira must have seen what was coming down the road. So he nominated Rui Costa. The biggest thing here, is obviously the directive. All these guys that surrounded Vieira. It's impossible that some of these guys did not know what was going on, especially Domingos Soares Oliveira. Domingos Soares Oliveira is the chief financial officer of the SAD. He controls every single penny, or he has visibility to every single penny that leaves the club, or that gets applied or gets spent, blah, blah, blah. To me, I'm very, very surprised if any of these guys didn't know. All of them, to me, are accomplices of Luis Felipe Vieira. Either that, or they saw it and they decided to ignore it, right? So when you see something that's wrong and you've been voted in to represent the club and to defend the club, and you see something that's wrong and you're not denouncing it, you are breaching the contract or the statutes of the club. To me, I think that for as much as Rui Costa wants to kind of now separate himself from the president and what he was doing in his presentation, and if you notice in his presentation, the first thing that he brought up in his presentation was the positive image that fans have of Rui Costa. What is the positive image that fans have of Rui Costa? Is playing time at Estádio da Luz, is playing time wearing a jersey. He was very careful to be able to, he was very careful to mention that and to bring that to light. Because right now, most of the image that fans have, myself alike, of Rui Costa is a guy that's been aware of everything that's been going on with Luis Felipe Vieira. He was Luis Felipe Vieira's right-hand man. How does he not know what is going on? To me, I find that very hard to believe that he doesn't know that some fishy isn't going on. And I understand that he may have not known the details, but you have to know that there's something going on. You're inflating players' commissions. You're buying the Salvador Agres, the Johan Cadiz of the world. Every year we saw Benfica buy players that never even put a Benfica player, a Benfica jersey on, that were sold automatically elsewhere. Those guys generate commissions. Where do you think those commissions go? So there's this whole thing, and I'm afraid that this is just the tip of the iceberg, what we're finding out. It turns out that the public ministry has had Luis Felipe Vieira on wiretaps for 3 years. This is only the tip of the iceberg for everyone. And if you think things are going to get better, things are going to get much, much worse in terms of what we're going to find out of all the schemes that were going on. So to me, I do understand that what is going on right now. I think that it's important that we continue to not disrupt the processes that are in place. So the preseason, preparing the team to qualify for the Champions League, that's a huge, huge ask from the team, and that's a huge objective that the team needs to get to. You got all the modalidades that need to get prepared for. You got other things. You got empréstimo obrigacionista that's due to be paid out to the folks that invested in this empréstimo obrigacionista that comes up at the end of this month. All of that needs to be satisfied and met by the club. I get that. Today, the directives and the vice presidents got together and they put out a comunicado or a memo that have a few points, and Cristiano has already mentioned that are priority. The preparation of the season, qualification for the Champions League, and preparation for the modalidades or other sports, and to bring back the normalcy to some of the management of the club after everything that's going on. The thing that I find confusing also, and I'm extremely upset at, if the ministry is saying that Benfica is one of the victims of these crimes, why hasn't Benfica publicly announced that they're willing to work, or they want to throw their hat in the ring to cooperate with the ministry, because if they're victims, they should be working with the ministry to make sure they safeguard their best interests. And Benfica has not done that yet, to my knowledge. Also, fans have been clamoring for elections, that elections need to be set. And today, the club didn't say, or this memo didn't say when the elections were going to be set. They just said sometime before the year is out, elections will be set. So right now, the biggest thing is that you got Rui Costa, and you have all the vice presidents of the SAD and all the guys that were Vieira yes man. They're still at the club, and it's like nothing happened. They're trying to go on, and I understand there's priorities, and like I said, the season and the team, we need to make sure that we make the Champions League. I get that, but I think at this point you should have had the date already for the elections, because if Rui Costa wants to be president, or if he wants to proclaim himself president, he has to go through the election process. He has to have due process in order to be the rightful president. And I'm not doubting that if he goes to the elections, he might win it.
I'm with you, whether it's Rui Costa, whether it's Eto'o, whoever, who may, it is who it is, right?
Yeah.
Whomever wants to be president of Benfica needs to go through the right steps and get elected to be the Benfica. You don't just appoint yourself Benfica. Now, the only thing I've agreed so far with everything you've said. The only thing I'm you and I are on the same page is you as of right now, you want a date already, determined date for announced for the
statutes. The statutes.
I think. Look, they announced today that there will be by the end of the year. I'm okay. I would have liked if they came out with the set date, but at the same time, I'm totally okay with it, Alfred. I'm just being honest, because I think right now they should focus more on making sure this. Look, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but the football side of things need to be straightened out. Benfica needs to qualify for the Champions League. They need that Champions League, those millions, in order to survive. They need to put a competitive team on the field. They need to get this Taça, the Caneco, right, the Championship Caneco, away from our neighbors on the other side of the city. We need to bring that back to Estádio da Luz. And so in order to do that, we need to concentrate right now on strengthening this roster and making sure everything is right and set to go from day one. Now, come September, transfer window closes. We're fine. Now we're into, in the midst of the season, beginning of the season, things are going on. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to focus and throw our hat in the hat. We're going to be candidates. We're going to announce a date for elections. And I think then is the appropriate time. Right now, to be building putting together a team to run as a candidate, building a campaign, concentrating on acquiring players, concentrating on placing players. It's a lot of work. It's a big mess for guys that I understand they've been around for a while, but at the end of the day, they didn't have that pressure being the president of Sport Lisboa Benfica. So I'm okay with it, because as long as they follow through on what they said regarding the elections, Alfredo, I'm okay with it. Now, I would have been okay with it as well if they gave me a predetermined date already, but I can't kill them for not doing so. At least this shows, whether it's Rui Costa that's making these decisions, whomever is advising them, they have the right intentions in mind. It's important that they follow through. But so far, what they've said has been, at least in my estimation, has been all the right things.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like you're saying, as long as they follow through, because let's say Benfica it goes on a tear in August, wins all their games, qualifies for the UCL. September comes around, the team's still on good momentum. At that point, do the voices quiet down in terms of requesting an election, or they say, well, we want Rui Costa to be our president also, why don't we just allow him to be the president?
What if we have a repeat of last year of PAOK, right? That disaster, that nightmare.
Oh, forget it.
And
there'll be pitchforks at the Luz.
So I mean, look, it could pode correr bem, pode correr mal a coisa.
And that's what they're hoping, that it goes well. And they're taking every measure.
Yeah, but I would like to think, bro, this is the thing that pisses me off about Benfica, right? These blind knowledge, right? Bro, you really can't be that stupid. And just because you get a couple of good positive results, therefore you have, your vote, your mind is made up regarding the president. After all we've been through over the last 30 years, come on, Benfica, we need to be smarter than that. And if you really in your heart believe that Rui Costa is the man, fine. By all means. But you have to be wise. Don't fall into this trap. How much longer are we going to be eating merda apalada with the shovel? All right? Apazada, whatever. Come on, bro. We have to be smarter than that. This cycle has to end. We need to put the people in front of the club that have the right intentions, that need to lead this club to the next decade, right? To lead this club to where it belongs. You and I had this conversation. So Benfica is a club, fine. You want to tell me they can't challenge with the Real Madrids, Barcelonas, Cities, Uniteds, Barcelonas, PSGs? That's fine and dandy. But the next group, Benfica should be there. Look, financially, I understand things are going to be a little bit difficult, but we live in a beautiful city. Beautiful stadium, beautiful, say Schalke, the best in the world, right? The best academy in the world.
20 years ahead.
Yeah, 20 years ahead. All this, bro. Players want to come to Lisbon, want to play for Benfica, want to play in a city that has over 300 days of the year, sunny days, right? They're playing in Champions League. They're kings of their own domain, being in Portugal. They wear the red on their chest. The Águia, no peitinho aqui. Bro, Benfica should be challenging the next group of teams. Look, I'm not saying they should be winning Champions League, but we should be getting out of the group. Our main goal should be every single season to make it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. And then if anything happens after that, is the cherry on top. But I think that should be the minimum. Benfica should really be striving for this. And so we need to put the right people in front of the club that have Benfica's best interests at heart, not their own personal interests. Benfica's. And so, whomever that may be, look, Rui Costa was my idol as a player, right? If he's running for election, I'm going to judge him just like I would judge and rate any other candidate. And if I deem that he's the best candidate, I'll vote for. If I don't, so be it. I still like Rui Costa. I got to meet him at a personal level. We're not best friends, but we know each other. That's fine and dandy. But if I don't think he's the best suited candidate, it is what it is, brother. But I think we all have to really look at an individual and decide what's best for our club, for our future, rather than fall into the trap of just eating the bullshit that we've eaten for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time we turn the page.
Well, and the other thing is I do get that. And these upcoming elections, please let's make them fair and democratic in terms of the coverage by BTV, because we all know there was no coverage by BTV of the other candidates during these past elections. We all know that there were some irregularities in terms of the elections and the votes. So let's make it as transparent as we can so that when the results come out, everybody is happy with the results and everybody can move on. Myself and Chris, we didn't vote for Luis Felipe Vieira. We voted for another option. But
Damn,
after
throw me out like
but after it was announced,
Luizinho, tu não escutas, calma, filho. Eu me botava para ti, pá.
but after it was
Shot
announced,
when I go to Portugal.
hey, it was announced you won 4 years, whether you like it or not, whether you support the guy or not, you kind of have to leave that behind. But the system and the process wasn't as transparent as it should have been, and it left a lot of people wondering if he did in fact win the elections or if he forced a win in the elections so we can continue ahead of the club, so we can continue having these schemes. Like I said, the $100 million that was spent was all with the intention of swaying the popular vote. Oh, this guy's invested. He brought JJ. He brought these big time players.
Positive, Chris.
I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote for him.
It was to win the title,
Right. So how do we know that along with that amount of money that he spent, that he also didn't sway the election? We don't know, because it was anything but transparent. There was no audit to the voting process. There was no counting of the physical votes. There were boxes or urns of votes moved in personal vehicles, and nobody really knows where the votes went. So it was anything
that's fake
but
news.
transparent, right? So what I'm hoping for, and regardless of whether Rui Costa wins or not, that the next election process is as transparent
Yes, I agree
as
with
it can be. Because without that, you will never have a club united.
I think what you do is when people go vote, you record them live. And I think a lot of people be embarrassed to vote on, for certain candidates, and maybe you get the right votes. What do you think? Think about it. If you had
That's idiotic.
I mean, that's transparent.
It's it's transparent. No,
No,
it's
mentiras,
like
lo mismo.
and look, Rui Costa is going to have to do a lot in the next coming months. The club needs to be more transparent. The club needs to come out and let the socios know what they're doing about this whole issue with Luis Felipe Vieira. There's a lot of guys out there that are getting news from CMTV, from other news outlets that are probably not trustworthy because the club is choosing
That's
to
mistake
be
number one.
mute on the point. So if the club is being transparent with the fans and say, this is what's going on, this is what we're doing, this is what Rui Costa is doing, this is what the directive is doing, there's no
But Alfredo,
guessing from the media outlets.
I'll play the other side of the card, though. And again, we agree on a lot of these topics, but maybe because you hear Luis Vieira was involved in selling the stocks, right, and behind everyone's back. So what if, in reality, Luis Vieira had all this control, right, silently on his own, and when this happened, it caught everybody by surprise, and he's the guy making all the decisions. Now it took the guys I'm just playing that side of it, right? And it took these guys a couple of days to get the wings under them and make decisions, because this guy's been the one in charge of everything. A lot of people say, what do they call it, Vieira TV and the dictatorship, yada yada. And maybe it took everyone else around them a couple of days to grasp things.
But that's not
but I think ever since then they've come up with comunicados. I think they're trying to inform everyone as much as possible. You might not agree with what they're saying, but they're putting it out.
But a couple of years ago, Vieira said himself that this is not a one-man club, that it's run by the directive.
Vieira also told he's been
now,
Fiquista, and he's been a socio of Porto and Sporting for years before that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and to add insult to injury, on the anniversary of Porto's Tetra or Penta or whatever it is, Luis Felipe Vieira allowed a crew from Porto Canal to record an episode. To record an episode at Estádio da Luz. To, I guess, celebrate that championship that Porto won.
Where we shut off the sprinklers. It wasn't us, the timer.
Mind you, Porto Canal is a channel from Porto, obviously, that with months on end produced or divulged Benfica's emails. And Luis Vieira is allowing them to do this in our house, in property that belongs to the socios of Benfica. So if you don't,
to the socios of Benfica, it belongs to Luis Vieira.
Belongs to
That's
Luis
far you
Vieira.
get wrong. He belongs to him, bro. He's the Almighty.
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm disappointed. I'm embarrassed. I'm tired of Benfica's name being dragged through the mud. And somebody and forgive me, because I think maybe it was Robert. I don't know exactly. And he had asked, "Does this hurt sponsorship?" Absolutely. You think that Adidas wants to be involved with a club that their president is accused of stealing funds from the club?
Well, considering Adidas gives us leftover uniforms from 3 years ago, I don't think they even paying attention to what's going on with it.
No, but yes, absolutely, it hurt. I mean, absolutely, it hurts the Benfica brand, and all the news about
It's funny, these guys are all saying on the chat to let Dave speak, because I've been waiting, because I've been interrupting my stupid corny lines, but I've been waiting for you to finish to ask Dave his opinion.
Dave, what are your thoughts?
Nice
Canadians are nice people.
Nice people.
They're like the Swiss of Europe.
Yeah,
I mean, of North America.
Whatever you guys are telling me tonight is pretty much the first time I'm digesting this information, because I haven't really dug too deep on this. So I'm just sitting back and listening to these claims. Obviously, we all had the suspicions. The suspicions have been there for years. So it is it's not looking good right now for this club. But we'll see. I unfortunately I share what Alfredo says, and I think it's just the tip of the iceberg right now.
Yeah,
Look, as crazy as this sounds, All right, and again, as you guys know, I'm a little bit off, a little crazy sometimes. This is bad.
Sometimes.
I'm embarrassed. But this has been going on for a while. There's nothing positive coming out of this, but in a crazy way, as long as we don't get any of the shenanigans from our neighbor up north, Pintinho, right, with the paying off for results, and this will be a stain on Benfica's record. But, and I don't want to say I'm okay with it because I'm not. But I think if it comes to the other part of things where you're paying off for results, I think that would really break my heart. I think that not that this is good, guys
But
and gals.
this
Not
is
that
the
this is good, but I think like you want to die by the sword, you want to die by a gun. Shoot me in the head because I'll be dead, instantly. But it's kind of like the evil of the two poisons, right? What is the poison of the two evil? Whatever. That's some at least, right? I think, bro. I don't want any of that, man. Because that's I think at the end of the day, our rivals are trying to throw stones at us, and especially those that live in big glass houses want to throw stones at us. And it's one thing I keep saying to them: look, bro, you guys are running around Ferry Street trying to act cool, celebrating titles that you paid off. We don't. I know Benfica's not squeaky clean, but at least as of right now, we're not getting any of these accusations. And again, not that it's any better, but it's the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah, and and I don't know if you guys noticed, but Porto has been strangely quiet during this whole process. I mean, Jota Marques is a guy that will. I mean, he will go on Twitter and criticize anything that involves Benfica.
Yeah, he criticized that
He-
female
he-
athlete
he-
for being on TV on
She-
RTP or whatever.
Yeah, she was on TV during homeschooling, and she was the Benfica goalie, the Benfica female futsal goalie, and he criticized
RTP for having her on.
publicly
Mhm.
for having her on because she was a Benfica player. But it's funny how quiet they've been, and maybe this goes back to the lunch that Pinto Costa and Luis Felipe Vieira had a week ago in the Bairrada, and maybe they signed a non-aggression pact, and or Pinto Costa knows that it's coming for him
Oh,
too.
man, you guys got to tune into my private channel for you to get the real thoughts on this because come on.
I didn't know you had a
No,
private channel.
I don't, bro. I'm joking. That's
Anyway.
it's only for.
I
but
went.
no, bro,
I-
Fredo, listen. We'll save that for another podcast. Go ahead, finish up.
No, look. I hope that we were able to kind of explain that and really give. I've had a really hard time during this past week and even finding the right words to explain what I'm feeling. I'm sad. I'm let down. I'm ashamed. Chris and I were at a party this past weekend, and there was a bunch of Sportingistas there and a bunch of Portistas.
There was one sport. The rest was sport. Well, no,
And
there was two. But he had two.
He called me over and said, "Hey, these guys are attacking me," and I said, "Chris, right now
left me alone.
we
Hey.
don't have the morale to even say anything
Hey,
to anybody. We
let
need
me
to
get
get our
it up.
house in order."
I was getting slapped around, and he left me there. But you know me, I got on top of a chair and started screaming off the top of my lungs. I had to put them in their place. But nonetheless, I mean, I think the worst Portista in the face of the planet happened to be at his party. One of my very best friends, the worst of the worst, and Alfredo left me there to hang. No backup, nothing. Alfredo's very well behaved, but nonetheless, like I said, the one thing that I could throw at them is, look, at least we rob from within. We're not robbing for results.
Yeah.
That was my one line. That's the only thing I could really defend myself in.
Maybe why the club isn't cooperating with the ministry, because maybe more things come out that way, where the club isn't so-called a victim that way.
Maybe they paid us for the draw at the Luz.
Yeah, I don't know. Cindy's asking if do we think that Luis Felipe Vieira will be back as president? I
No,
highly doubt that.
doubt
The 3 million, the 3 million, what do you call
Bond.
The
Bond.
it? Well, no, bail.
Bail.
The
Bond.
3
Bond
million
money,
bail
right?
that he
Same
needs
thing, bro.
to post in 10 days or whatever.
20.
He hasn't paid yet, but
Well,
that's
all
the-
he needs is 500,000. If he stole 2.5 from Benfica, he's got
that's the second highest bail
After the other guy that tried to buy Benfica
after
years
Joe
ago.
Berardo,
Who's trying to buy Benfica
that got arrested a couple weeks ago
for $5 million?
for $5 million. Yeah. So
But look, I don't think he's
I
coming
think that once this all starts to unraveling, all the accusations, the wiretaps, if they were tapping my man for 3 years, there's going to be a lot more than just bolachas the Marta and
and not just
yogurts.
that, and not just that. But all jokes aside, this is a process. As you guys who are familiar with Portuguese judiciary system, this is gonna. It's not gonna be like in 2 months.
It's going to be dragged.
It's gonna be years. And so I don't see how this guy, in his right mind, is going to take care of his legal problems and do it. Even if he wanted to, how is he going to be able to do his duties as a president, which is day in, day out? He has to be involved in the club matters, and he's going to have to also put up a defense, to try to evade jail time. I don't think he's going to have the time. Yeah, I don't think he's going to have.
It's not going to happen because one of the measures that the court put in is that he cannot be in any facility owned by SLB or by Benfica, or have contact with any of the SAD, any members of the SAD. He's strictly forbidden to do that. So if the longer the court draws out, the longer those measures will be in place.
Come on, the pizza delivery guy slipping him one of those flip phones. Are you crazy? Watch the pizza thing.
No, I
phone.
just look.
What do you think,
Benfica was only 2.5 million from what they're saying.
Yeah.
But apparently, it's over 100 million in terms of what the government is all the accusations that are out there. So it's over 100 million. So, but like I said, there's going to be a lot more developments, and as the court cases develops, more things will come out, because right now everything is under segredo de justiça, which is basically they can't divulge any of the facts to the public, because everything is part of the case.
You think, Dave, since him and Pinto Costa are such great friends, you think they got the same defense system? They got Pinto Costa on the Pinto Dorado? That'd be wise, right? I mean,
yeah, maybe
your attorney got you out of a 100-mile-per-hour speeding ticket. I'm gonna use them.
Now, yeah, but the lunch maybe he said, "Hey, how did you get those wiretaps thrown out of court in the Pinto Dorado?
How'd you make them illegal?" Right? And he told him, "I got in the back of a car and went to Vigo." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all we got. So I hope that
we got 3 hours long.
I hope that it's
Dave's
an
tired.
hour and a half. Yeah, Dave's falling asleep.
Dave's tired.
I hope, and Dave, sorry, man. I wish you would have participated a little bit more, but it's just one of those podcasts. But yeah, the schedule has come out. We will save the schedule for next week. Discuss the schedule. Also, by the time we come out next week, we've had a chance to watch Benfica live for the first time this.
So we're gonna do this like weekly again?
Yeah, Tuesday.
Oh man, it started up for real.
Yeah,
I thought today was like one of those comunicados especiais. Alerta, Benfica podcast. No,
I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about.
Damn,
we'll have plenty to talk about. But yeah, thanks everyone that took the time to watch us and put up with our usual
Miss you guys.
goofy
Love
stuff. And I hope that we were able to shed some light on everything that's been going on. I'm not a judicial or a court expert or a lawyer, so a lot of the things that I read, sometimes I'll have to go and translate. So what does this word mean? Because there's a lot of words out there, especially when you're reading court documents, that it's very hard to understand.
The podcast needs to retain a lawyer on file. Then for us, we got to have a lawyer next week.
Andre Ventura is available.
Andre Ventura
He's back on CMTV talking Benfica. No, we could get the guy from Houston. He speaks English.
Yeah, Matamoros. Yeah.
Jesus, o nome desse gajo vai
Matamoros also said that if there's no elections that are announced or a date that are announced, he's going to continue to pursue his case. In terms of
but they did announce
the election.
They just didn't give a date.
They have a date, yeah. But, announcing that and not giving a date is almost the same thing as announcing. It's like me saying, hey, I'll stop by your house, but I'll never stop by.
Oh, yeah, this was like when I said, stop by my house whenever you want. Kind of like one of those. Hoping you never show up.
At 10CO10, at 87DO87 Benfica Podcast is where you can find us on Twitter. Thanks again for checking us out. We haven't done this YouTube live in a while. Shout out to everyone that was that took the time for us.
Yep.
And was in the comments, and the comments were very active. Mario,
coming.
Sydney, everybody, Barbosa, Fernandez, Chico,
my boy
was
Gooey,
here early.
Gooey,
Yeah.
that's my dude.
All right, everyone. Thanks a lot. See you again next week. Take care.
Arrivederci.
Stay well. Stay safe. Later. Bye.